I was working in that cotton field, breaking my back for nothing. The sun was beating down on me, sweat pouring down my face. I was angry at God, angry at life, angry at myself. Thought I was cursed, thought I was damned to this hell forever. My hands were bleeding, my back was screaming, my spirit was dead. I spent my whole life running from God, running from myself, drinking, fighting, womanizing, doing everything wrong. Thought redemption was for other people, not for a man like me. That day in the field, something broke inside me. Fell down on my knees right there in the dirt. Started crying, couldn't stop. All the pain came pouring out, all the regrets, all the shame, all the emptiness. And then I felt it, felt something shift in my chest. Felt a presence, felt a warmth, felt like I wasn't alone. I heard my mama's voice in my head, heard her praying for me, heard God speaking to my soul for the first time. I was different, didn't have all the answers, didn't understand it all, but I knew something had changed, knew I'd been given a second chance. Found Jesus in that cotton field, and he saved my life. From that day on I started going to church, started reading the Bible, started trying to be a better man, started making amends. It wasn't easy, had plenty of temptations, had plenty of failures, but I kept getting back up, kept believing I could change. I'm 75 years old now, and I still remember that day. Still remember falling to my knees in that field. Still remember feeling God's grace like a hand lifting me up. Found Jesus in the cotton field, and he's been with me ever since. I found Jesus in the cotton field, found redemption in the dirt. I found Jesus when I fell down, found salvation in my pain. The cotton field became my church, the dirt became my prayer. I found Jesus in the cotton field, and he set me free. I had a son born when I was still young and stupid. I wasn't ready to be a father, wasn't ready for responsibility. I was still running the streets, still drinking, still making bad choices. My boy grew up watching me destroy myself, watching me destroy our family. By the time he was 15, he was following in my footsteps, dropping out of school, running with the wrong crowd, getting in trouble. I saw myself in him, and it terrified me. Realized I was passing my curse down to the next generation. I tried to tell him to stop, tried to warn him about the life I'd lived, but he wouldn't listen. Said I was a hypocrite, said I had no right to tell him nothing. He was right, I lost that right through all my years of sin, but I couldn't just stand by and watch him waste his life. One night he came home bleeding from a knife fight, nearly died right there on our kitchen floor, lying in that hospital bed. I made a decision, I had to change, had to show him there was another way. I got myself clean, went to church, started my redemption, not for me but for him, to show him it was possible. I told him my whole story, all my shame, all my pain, told him he could choose a different path than the one I chose. It took time, took patience, took me proving myself through action, but gradually he started to believe that change was possible. He went back to school, got a job, got out of the streets. My son almost became me, but I saved him. Now he's got his own family, got his own life, got his own dreams. He tells his children about his father, about the man who almost lost him, about the redemption that saved the family line, about how one man's change can ripple through generations. I'm proud of him every single day, proud that he didn't follow my path, proud that my pain served a purpose. My son almost became me, but grace intervened. My son almost became me, almost followed me into the darkness. My son almost became me, but redemption saved us. Ooh, I broke the cycle, broke the curse, showed him a different way. My son almost became me, but God had other plans. I was a preacher for 30 years, stood in that pulpit every Sunday, told people about God's love, about salvation, about redemption. But I was living a lie, was sleeping with the church secretary, was stealing money from the collection plate, was was drinking in private. I had a wife at home who believed in me, believed in my calling. Had children who thought their father was a man of God. Had a congregation that trusted me, that looked up to me. And I was betraying all of them every single day. One day my wife found out, found letters, found evidence. She confronted me and I saw the betrayal in her eyes. Saw the shame in my children's faces when they understood. Realized I'd destroyed the one thing that mattered most. The church asked me to resign quietly, didn't want a scandal. The congregation was angry, felt deceived, felt ashamed. I left that pulpit in disgrace, lost my identity, lost my way. Didn't know who I was without that title, without that position. I spent years in darkness, more darkness than I'd ever known. Drank myself nearly to death, tried to forget what I'd done. But I couldn't escape it, couldn't run from my own conscience. The weight of my hypocrisy was crushing me. One night I was sitting alone in a bar, ready to end it all. Thought about my family, thought about the people I'd hurt. Thought about God, wondered if He could forgive a man like me. A man who'd preached His word while living in sin. I got on my knees that night, right there in that dirty bar. Asked God for forgiveness, asked for another chance. But something shifted, felt like weight lifting off my shoulders. I went to my wife and I begged for her forgiveness. Took years to rebuild that trust, years of proving myself. I never went back to preaching, but I found redemption in other ways. Worked with the poor, worked with the lost, lived my faith instead of preaching it. My wife eventually forgave me. My children eventually understood. Not that what I did was okay, but that their father was human. That even the man who preaches God's word can fall, can fail, can sin, can be redeemed. The preacher who lost his way found redemption, found grace. The preacher who lost his way learned the hard way that faith is lived, not just spoken. I was a hypocrite, I was a sinner, but God didn't give up on me. The preacher who lost his way came home, came back to the truth. Church, beautiful and kind, everyone loved her. I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. Couldn't help myself. Started spending time together. Told ourselves it was innocent, but we both knew it was becoming something more. Drank and cheated. She said she was gonna leave him, said we could be together. I believed her, wanted to believe her, was willing to wait. But deep down I knew something was wrong with the whole situation. One day she came to me and said she'd been praying, said God had spoken to her heart, told her to honor her marriage, said the love she felt for me was real, but it wasn't God's will. Said she was choosing to stay with her husband and work on the marriage. Understand how she could choose a man who didn't love her, choose pain over happiness. Told her she was being foolish, told her she was wasting her life, but she just looked at me with peace in her eyes and said she was following God. Years later I heard that her husband got clean, got sober, found God, that they rebuilt their marriage, had children, lived a good life. I realized she'd seen something I couldn't, believed in something I didn't. She chosen faith over passion, God over earthly love. I eventually married someone else, had my own life, but I never forgot her, never forgot the choice she made, never forgot the strength it took to walk away from love, when love wasn't leading her toward God. Now I understand what she did, understand the sacrifice she made, understand that sometimes the hardest choice is the right choice, that following God means giving up things we want, that faith is stronger than love, at least the kind of love I had. She taught me more about redemption and faith than anyone else. Taught me that sometimes you have to lose to win. Taught me that God's plan is bigger than our desires. The woman who chose God over love changed my life. The woman who chose God over love made the hardest choice. The woman who chose God over love trusted in something greater. I didn't understand then, but I understand now. The woman who chose God over love was stronger than all of us. I spent 40 years blind to the truth, blind to God's grace, blind to the people around me who were trying to help. I was so wrapped up in my own pain, my own anger, my own pride. Couldn't see nothing but my own suffering. People tried to reach me, tried to show me the light. My mother prayed for me, my wife stood by me, my friends tried to help. But I was determined to stay in darkness, determined to be miserable. Thought that was what I deserved, thought that was my fate. One day I woke up and realized I was old, realized life was passing me by. Realized I'd wasted decades on anger and bitterness. Realized I've been blind to all the good things right in front of me. All the love, all the beauty, all the beauty, all the grace. I fell to my knees and I asked God to open my eyes, asked Him to let me see what I've been missing. Asked Him to show me the way out of the darkness. And something shifted, something opened up inside me. Yeah, I started seeing my wife differently, saw how much she loved me. Started seeing my children differently, saw how much they needed me. Started seeing the world differently, saw God's hand in everything. I was blind, but now I see. I can't get back the years I lost, can't undo the damage, but I can live the remaining years with my eyes open. Can appreciate every moment, every breath, every person. Can be grateful for the grace that found me. Now I'm 83 years old, and every day is a gift. Every sunrise is a miracle. Every conversation is precious. Every moment with my family is sacred. I was blind, but now I see the beauty of living. Oh, if I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, I'd say don't waste your life being blind. Don't waste your years on bitterness and anger. Open your eyes now before it's too late. I was blind, but now I see. Now I see the light. Now I see the light. Now I see God's grace. I was blind, but now I see. Now I see God's grace. The scales fell off my eyes. The darkness turned to light. I was blind, but now I see. I was lost, but now I'm found. When the flood came in 27, I was standing in that water up to my chest. All around me people were drowning, losing everything. And I realized my sins were drowning too, washing away with the current. The flood that took everything else was also taking my shame. I'd been a bad man, had done bad things, had hurt people, lived my life in darkness and selfishness and sin. But standing in that water, watching the world get destroyed, I felt God speaking to me, felt Him saying it was time to change. When the water finally receded and the sun came back, I came out of that flood a different man. The flood had washed away my old self, my old life, my old sins, left me standing there clean, waiting to be born again. I didn't have much left after the flood, lost my house, lost my land. But I gained something more valuable, gained my soul back. Spent the next 50 years trying to be a good man, trying to make up for the time I'd wasted being evil. People used to know me as a man you didn't want to cross, a man who steal from you, cheat you, hurt you without thinking. But after the flood, I became known as someone you could trust, someone who helped people, who stood up for what was right. The flood took my possessions, but it gave me my life back. Took my earthly wealth, but gave me spiritual richness. That flood was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to face myself and change. Now when I talk about that flood, I don't talk about the loss, I talk about the redemption, about the grace. I talk about how God uses disaster to wake us up, how sometimes you have to lose everything to gain your soul. I'm 92 years old now, and I've lived a good life. Been a good husband, a good father, a good man. All because a flood came and washed my sins away. Gave me a second chance I did deserve, but desperately needed.
The flood washed my sins away.
The water cleansed my soul.
The flood washed my sins away.
Left me pure and whole.
The water took everything,
but gave me my life back.
The flood washed my sins away.
Now I'm walking in the light. My mother was a backbone of our family, the only thing holding us together. My father was a drunk, spent every penny on whiskey. My brothers were running wild, headed straight for prison or death. But my mother, she held on to faith, like it was the only rope keeping us from drowning. Every morning she'd wake up before dawn and pray, on her knees in that small kitchen, asking God for strength, asking God to save her husband, to guide her sons, asking God to keep food on the table somehow. I watched her work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever it took. Watched her stretch every penny day to feed us all. Watched her go without so her children could have something. But through it all, she never lost faith, never stopped believing. My father eventually got sober, found religion, became a different man. Said it was my mother's prayers that saved him. Said he could feel her faith pulling him back from the edge. Said her belief in him gave him strength to change. My brothers eventually turned their lives around too. Got jobs, got families, got respect in the community. They all said the same thing. It was Mama's faith, Mama's prayers that kept them from destroying themselves. I became a preacher because of my mother's faith. Wanted to do what she did, wanted to help people see God's light, wanted to pass on the legacy of faith she gave us, wanted to show people that faith can change everything. My mother passed away when she was 85. The whole community came to her funeral. Hundreds of people told stories about how her faith had touched them, how her prayers had saved them, healed them, changed them. Now I'm an old man myself, and I see the impact she had. See how her faith rippled through generations. My children are faithful, my grandchildren are faithful, because my mother decided to believe when everything was falling apart. If there's one thing I want people to know about my life, it's that it was built on my mother's faith. Every good thing I am, every right choice I made, is because my mother prayed for me before I was even born. My mother's faith saved the family, saved us all from darkness. My mother's faith saved the family. Her prayers were our salvation. She believed when we couldn't believe. She held on when we let go. My mother's faith saved the family, and it still saves us today. Her legacy lives in every great generation. My mother's faith was our life. street man had respect, had money, had power, ran numbers, sold whiskey, had people working for me. Thought I was living the life, thought I had it all figured out, but deep down I was empty, running from something I couldn't name. I had nice clothes, nice car, nice women on my arm, but every night I'd lie awake, wondering what it all meant, wondering if there was something more than money and power, wondering if this was all there was to life. One night I witnessed something I can't unsee. A man got killed over nothing, over disrespect. Watched him die in the street, watched his mother cry. Realized that all the power in the world couldn't save him. I started thinking about my own mother, about what she'd want for me. Started thinking about God, about redemption, about getting out. Started realizing that the streets were gonna kill me eventually, either literally or spiritually. I was dying out there. I went to church one Sunday, sat in the back, didn't want anyone to see me, but the preacher's words hit me like a punch to the gut. He talked about redemption, about second chances, about God's grace, talked about giving up everything for something real. That day I made a decision to get out, to give up the streets, gave up my operation, gave up my money, gave up my reputation. My old friends thought I was crazy, thought I lost my mind, but I knew I'd found something I didn't know I was looking for. The transition wasn't easy, had to rebuild my life from nothing. Got a regular job, started going to church regularly, started reading the Bible, started praying, started believing. Slowly I became a different man, a better man. 20 years later, I'm still clean, still faithful, still grateful. Got a wife who loves me, got children who respect me, got a job that lets me sleep at night, got peace in my heart, got everything the streets promised but could never deliver. Sometimes I see guys from my old life and they look at me with pity, think I gave up everything, think I lost, but they don't understand that I found something worth 1,000 times more. I gave up the streets for God, and it was the best trade I ever made. I gave up the streets for God, left the darkness behind. I gave up the streets for God, found the light I was seeking, found the light I was seeking. The streets promised power, but God gave me peace. I gave up the streets for God, now I'm finally free. Gave up the money and the power, gained my soul back. I was suicidal, had a rope around my neck, ready to end it all. Didn't have no reason to live, didn't have no hope. Everything I touched turned to dust, everything I loved left me. I was ready to give up, ready die. My sister begged me to go to church with her just one Sunday. Said it might help, said God had helped her through her darkest times. I didn't believe in nothing, didn't believe in nobody, but I was desperate enough to try anything. I went to that church and I sat in the back row. The choir was singing, the preacher was preaching, and something inside me just broke. Started crying like a baby. All the pain came pouring out, all the loneliness, all the despair. The preacher talked about God's love, about never giving up, talked about how God catches us when we're falling, talked about redemption and second chances and grace. And I felt something shift inside me, felt like maybe there was hope. After the service, people came up to me and hugged me. They didn't know my story, but they treated me like family. Told me I was welcome, told me to come back next week. Gave me something I didn't even know. I was looking for acceptance. I went back the next week, and the next, and the next. Started getting involved, started volunteering, started believing. The church became my family, became my reason to live, became the thing that pulled me back from the edge 30 years later. And I'm still going to that same church, still seeing the same people, still feeling that same love and acceptance. I've helped pull other people back from the edge, like someone did for me. Help them find faith, find hope, find a reason to live. The church that saved my life is still standing in that same place, still changing lives, still saving people, still showing people that God's love is real and powerful, still proving that there's always hope, always a way out. I'm alive today because a sister insisted I go to church, because a church opened their doors and showed me love, because God was patient enough to wait for me to be ready. The church that saved my life, I owe it everything. The church that saved my life gave me a reason to live. The church that saved my life showed me God's grace, showed me God's grace. I was ready to die, I was ready to die, but the church gave me hope. The church that saved my life, now I save others. The church is my family, the church is my home. My father beat me when he was drunk, which was most of the time. Left scars on my back, left wounds on my soul. I hated him for years, spent my whole life angry at what he'd done. Couldn't forgive him, couldn't move past it. I became a man full of rage, rage carried his violence inside me. Nearly destroyed my own family with the same anger he'd shown me. My wife begged me to get help. My children were scared of me. I was becoming him, repeating the cycle. One day I got on my knees and prayed, asked God to help me, asked him how I could let go of this anger that was eating me alive. Felt like God was speaking to me, telling me I had to forgive, had to let go of the past or it would destroy my future. My father was old and sick by then, didn't have much time left. I went to see him in the hospital, didn't know what I was going to say. He looked at me and started crying, said he was sorry, said he'd spent his whole life regretting what he'd done to me. I could see the regret in his eyes, could see he was broken by it. And something inside me softened, something released. I told him I forgave him, and I meant it. Felt the weight lift off my shoulders as soon as I said it. We spent his last days together, actually talking, actually connecting. He told me about his father, how he'd been beaten too, how the cycle had just repeated generation after generation, how he'd hoped I would break it. He died with my hand in his, died knowing I'd forgiven him. And I died a little too that day, died to all the anger and pain. Rose up again as a man who could love, who could forgive, who could break the cycle for his own children. Now I tell my children about their grandfather, tell them the truth, tell them about his pain, tell them about his redemption. Tell them that forgiveness is the strongest thing we can do. Tell them that breaking the cycle starts with letting go. The day I forgave my father was the day I became free. Free from his violence, free from his pain, free from the cycle. That day changed everything, changed my family, changed my life. The day I forgave my father, I finally became a man. The day I forgave my father, I forgave myself. The day I forgave my father, the cycle was broken. I released the anger, released the hate. The day I forgave my father, I was finally free. He was breaking the cycle too. We healed each other. My family was falling apart. My wife was threatening to leave. My kids were getting in trouble, heading down the wrong path. My marriage was falling apart, couldn't communicate without fighting. I was desperate, didn't know where to turn. A A friend of mine invited me to church, said it might help. I almost said no, wasn't the church type, but I was out of options, out of hope, out of ideas. So I took my family and we went one Sunday morning. Oh, walking in those doors felt different, like we were entering another world. The people were warm, welcoming, didn't judge us. The music was beautiful, the words spoke to something deep inside. My wife grabbed my hand and squeezed it. The preacher talked about love, about commitment, about fighting for your family. Talked about God's plan for marriage, for children, for redemption. And I felt like he was speaking directly to me. Knew my story, my wife was crying, my kids were listening. After service, people came up to us and invited us to Bible study, invited us to a small group, invited us to be part of the community. For the first time in years, I felt like we belonged somewhere. Felt like we were part of something bigger than ourselves. We started going every week, started getting involved, started changing my wife, and I started talking, really talking about our problems. Started praying together, started reading the Bible together, started remembering why we fell in love in the first place. My kids started getting involved in youth group, made good friends, started staying out of trouble, started believing in themselves, started asking questions about God, about faith, about their purpose. The church gave them something I couldn't, a community of faith. Within a year, our family was completely different. My marriage was stronger than it ever been. My kids had direction, had purpose, had hope. We became a family again, not just people living in the same house. 20 years later, and the church is still central to our life. Our marriage survived, our kids grew up strong and faithful. Our grandchildren are being raised in faith, all because I took my family to church one desperate Sunday. If you're struggling, if your family is falling apart, if you don't know where to turn, I'm telling you, go to church. Take your family, open your hearts, let God in. I took my family to church and everything changed. I took my family to church and everything changed. We found hope, we found healing.
I took my family to church
And everything changed. We found God, we found each other. The church became our home, our refuge, our strength.
I took my family to church.
And everything changed. Now we'll never be the same. The church saved my family. The church saved my life. I was a blues man for 60 years, played in every juke joint and honky-tonk, sang about pain, sang about loss, sang about heartbreak. Made my living singing the blues, made my reputation on suffering. The older I got, the deeper the pain went. I drank, I womanized, I fought, I lived a life of excess. Thought that was what the blues demanded, thought you had to live it to sing it. My body was broken by the time I hit 70. My soul was even more broken. One night I was playing in a little club and I felt a presence, like something was speaking to me through the music. Started thinking about all the years I wasted on pain and pleasure. Started wondering if there was more to life than suffering. I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about God, about redemption, about the Bible. Started reading passages, started praying, started asking for forgiveness. Started realizing I've been running from God my whole life. I went to church on Sunday and sat in the back. The choir was singing gospel and it moved me more than any blues ever did. The preacher talked about grace and it hit me like a thunderbolt. I got down on my knees right there in that church and cried. The old blues man found Jesus in that church, found that the pain he'd been singing about could be healed, found that his voice could be used for something beside expressing suffering, found that redemption was possible even at 75. I started singing in the church choir, still using my voice but for a different purpose. Still telling stories but about faith instead of pain. The people at church said my voice had changed, sounded different. Said it sounded like hope instead of despair. I spent my last 5 years of life serving God, singing, praying, helping people, sharing my testimony. People would come to me and ask how I changed. I'd tell them about the moment the old blues man found Jesus. When I died at 80, the church was packed. Blues musicians came to pay respects to a legend, but what they found was a man who'd found peace, found redemption, found purpose, found Jesus. My legacy isn't just the blues songs I sang. It's the testimony of how grace found an old man at the end of his life, how redemption is never too late, how the oldest sinner can become the strongest believer. The old blues man found Jesus, found peace in the pain. The old blues man found Jesus, found redemption at last. Sang the blues for 60 years, sang gospel for 5. The old blues man found Jesus and finally was alive. His voice changed, his heart changed, his whole life changed. The old blues man found Jesus and saved his soul.